The exam was only a few days away, and somehow, the closer it got, the harder it became to think clearly. It felt like the exam wasn't just a test anymore. It felt like a giant shadow hanging over his entire future. Every time he looked at the date on the calendar, his heart beat a little faster. The countdown seemed impossible to ignore. He couldn't understand why other students looked so calm. Was he the only one feeling this afraid? Here's something surprising. Exam fear doesn't start in your books. It starts inside your brain. The more scared he became, the less he could focus. Even simple pages started looking confusing. It felt like he was fighting against something much bigger than the exam itself. Just imagining the exam hall made his stomach tighten. The fear appeared long before the test began. At night, the questions followed him. Even sleep couldn't completely escape the pressure. And that's where many students get trapped. Fear makes concentration weaker, which creates even more fear. The strange part was that he actually knew the material, but anxiety was making him doubt everything. When the brain senses danger, learning takes a back seat. Survival becomes the priority. He looked around and saw confident faces. What he didn't know was that many of them felt nervous too. Most students hide their fear. The calmest person in the room may be fighting the same battle. Then he discovered a surprising truth. The real problem wasn't the exam itself. It was how his mind...
So what changed? He started asking a simple question. What exactly am I afraid of? Psychologists discovered that events don't directly create emotions. Our interpretation of those events does. The same exam can look completely different depending on how you think about it. He realized he wasn't afraid of the exam paper. He was afraid of the story he kept telling himself. A tiny worry can grow surprisingly fast when it's repeated again and again. Your brain is powerful, but sometimes it uses that power to imagine problems that haven't happened. He kept replaying failure in his mind, and the strange thing was that none of it was actually real. Exam fear often works like a magnifying glass. Small risks start looking enormous. But when he challenged those thoughts, something unexpected happened. The fear began to lose strength. Most of the disasters he imagined were far worse than the likely reality. He finally saw the difference between facts and fears. One path was built on imagination. The other was built on evidence. And he learned an important lesson. Change the thought, and you change the emotion. Change the emotion, and your actions improve. For the first time in weeks, studying felt a little easier. But there was still a deeper reason why exam fear affects almost every student.
As he thought more deeply, he discovered something important. Exam fear isn't only about failing. For many students, exams represent something much bigger than a score. From an early age, we're surrounded by grades, rankings, and comparisons. Success often brings praise, while failure often brings disappointment. Over time, many students start believing that their marks determine their value. When grades become connected to self-worth, every exam starts feeling dangerous. The brain begins treating poor performance like a threat to identity, and social comparison makes it even worse. Students who focus only on results often feel more pressure than those focused on learning. Comparison creates pressure. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates stress. The more you watch everyone else's progress, the harder it becomes to notice your own. He realized that much of his anxiety came from comparing his journey to someone else's. Fear has a strange habit. It highlights weaknesses and hides strengths. For the first time, he began separating his grades from his identity. And once that happened, a completely different mindset started to emerge.
Something began to change when he stopped fighting fear and started understanding it. He noticed that the questions he asked himself shaped his entire experience. A fear-focused mindset creates avoidance, while a growth-focused mindset creates action. He realized that he didn't need perfect thoughts, he only needed more realistic ones. The storm in his mind wasn't disappearing instantly, but it was becoming smaller. Instead of worrying about the entire exam, he focused on one task at a time. Every small win sent a powerful message to his brain. I can handle this. The more he studied consistently, the less power fear had over him. Confidence wasn't appearing magically, it was being built through action. He started viewing learning as progress, not competition. Helping others reminded him how much he already knew. Real growth rarely happens in giant leaps. It happens in small daily steps. Slowly, he stopped seeing himself as a fearful student. He learned that action creates progress. Progress creates confidence, and confidence creates even more action. And for the first time, standing outside the exam hall didn't feel terrifying. It felt different. It felt like he was finally ready to face the challenge.
He was still nervous, but now he understood something important. The exam wasn't a monster waiting to destroy his future. It was simply another challenge he was capable of facing. Fear didn't disappear completely, it just stopped being in control. When the exam paper arrived, he focused on one question at a time. The biggest difference wasn't his knowledge, it was his mindset. Life will always bring difficult tests. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to act even when fear is present. And that's exactly what he did. The moment he stopped running from fear, he became free from it. Whether the result was perfect or not, he knew he had grown. The obstacle hadn't changed. His perspective had. He finally understood that exams are only a small chapter in a much bigger story. Your future is built by effort, learning, and resilience, not by a single score. So the next time fear shows up before an exam, remember this. Fear is a signal, not a prediction. And courage begins the moment you move forward anyway.